Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Manchester United podcast. I'm your host for this evening, Niall Hannigan, and I'm delighted to be joined by Tom Cairns. Tom, how are you this evening?
Not so bad, thank you, Niall, and how to everyone. I'm sure they've managed to digest over the last 24 hours after that game against Arsenal. What was a strong performance that turned out to be not the result that we wanted, but there was plenty of positives we could take from this one. But there are a few other bits which we didn't quite go over after Sunday's game, which we've got a chance to this evening.
Absolutely, and similar to yesterday, we are filming this or recording this just a couple of minutes after Monday Night Football, so rounded out the first weekend of the Premier League season. You happy it's back, Tom?
I'm happy it's back, and there's a whole lot more to come this weekend coming up. And I only just saw the result and saw the penalty that Leeds got, which proved to be a controversial one because of a handball, which some may argue that the defender's arm was by his side, but I'd need to go into that a little bit more, or look at it in a better angle, because I know there'll be some people trying to put it into different context to how it should normally be. But yeah, that rounds out the fact that two promoted clubs have picked up wins in the opening weekend of games. You know, Sunderland getting the better of West Ham convincingly, and Leeds, through a bit of luck, got by Everton. And I think the home form is going to be what determines whether Leeds stay up or not. But, you know, in relation to us, there is a long way to go, and I am confident we're going to have a better season than we had of last. It's just whether we can maintain the players we've got in our squad. The injuries been very, very minimal, and if we have a minimal amount of injuries, which is very rare that we do nowadays in this era of the Premier League, if we have that, I think we could end up at least qualify for Europe.
Yes, and that's the goal. And I think a lot of us predicted between that 7th and 8th spot and maybe pushing towards Europa League, Conference League positions. So that would be the ideal scenario, I suppose, for us this season. And like we mentioned in yesterday's episode, Tom, took a lot of positives from the game. Even though we didn't get away with the 3 points or even a point from the game, I felt that there was so much improvement in what we saw last year. So really, really positive signs to come. I suppose we didn't really touch too much on a couple of incidents are kind of coming out today around ref watch and some of the VAR decisions. The first one, I'm going to say but I was probably a bit critical of Bayeindeer yesterday more than you, but definitely don't think he did himself any favours there. But there's been a couple of things from Mark Clattenburg that's come out today saying that the referees probably should have intervened upon, further looking at the video where Mason Mount may have been fouled in the area, and also the impact on Bayeindeer as well. Do you have any sympathy? Third time lucky for Bayeindeer at all there, or do you think he just needs to be better?
He just needs to be better than what he is, Bayeindeer, which, for the person that likes to put faith in players, I think he can be better, but you only get so many chances before you realise you are not the material of what Manchester United are. If Bayeindeer can't deal with that, he had a similar issue in the League Cup quarter-final against Tottenham last season, where the ball basically went in directly from the corner, and Bayeindeer just wasn't positioned correctly to deal with it, and he completely misjudged it. I do think Tom Heaton will get the nod, providing that Onana is not fit in time for the game against Fulham. But United need to experiment. If they know that Bayeindeer is making these mistakes, allowing someone else to give it a go, like Tom Heaton, wouldn't be a bad idea. And if there was a time in the season to do it, this is the time to make that kind of switch. Amram's going to be under pressure. We all know that. The only way that's going to get him out of jail is how the attacking phase on the pitch, that is what's going to save him. Because we're not going to be very good at keeping clean sheets. So we've got to make sure we put these chances away, which we weren't able to do so against Arsenal. There is a shout of the penalty, which I think, was it Saliba on Mount, or was it Ahmad that he collided?
Saliba on Cunha.
That was it. People are making comparisons on that one compared to the handball that was given in tonight's game against between Leeds and Everton. I thought it was a pen, but I think the reason why they didn't give it was because of Cunha leaning into Saliba, which I don't think was the case at all. I think Cunha earned the right to appeal it, but the referee said no. I'm surprised he didn't even go to VAR, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Going back to that Bayeindeer incident, I don't know if you saw Ruben Amorim's press conference or a clip from it when the question was kind of put to him whether he had chosen Bayeindeer over Tom Heaton and whether that was the right choice. He gave a very stern answer back to the reporter and kind of called out the reporter called out the incident against Spurs, like you mentioned, in the League Cup, and Amorim was very quick to mention the game after against Arsenal in the FA Cup where he saves the penalty and United go on and win that game in the Cup. And yeah, it's good that he's backing his players and it's good that he's standing up for them, but I'm not sure if Bayeindeer is the hill you want to die on. So it'll be interesting to see what he does do over the next couple of weeks, whether it is Onana coming back from injury, whether it is Tom Heaton. Based off that interview, I think he'll probably stick with Bayeindeer until Onana comes back. But, any of those three options, it's slim pickings in terms of probably who you actually want to choose there. But it's the position we're in. And I think, like you mentioned, being creative in that position probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but I just can't see it happening at the moment. And then moving on to that Cunha incident, I think if it's given, you're delighted, and I think if it was given against me, I'd be very disappointed. Saliba was kind of sliding in to kind of anticipating blocking the flick that Cunha was inevitably going to do, but then the ball kind of got stuck, and then he kind of just slowly falls over Saliba. So it's one that could have easily been given if it did go to VAR, which I'm surprised, like you mentioned, it didn't. But it definitely wasn't a clean cut one, but definitely you'd be claiming for it. So you would if you were on the United side, like we are.
I'll ask you this question then. Do you reckon that Bayeindeer will be in goal for the League Cup game against Grimsby, or do you think Tom Heaton will be given a go?
That's a good question. If Onana's still injured, I think Bayeindeer, because he started the Premier League game, will be the Premier League keeper until Onana comes back and they battle it out. So I think Tom Heaton might get a shout then in the League Cup. I think that's a good call. How far is that away? Just a couple of weeks, is it? It's after the Premier League game?
It's after the second Premier League game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can't see Tom Heaton getting run out in that, because I think a lot of players that haven't started will start that game and try and get their hand up for a spot. So I definitely say Tom Heaton probably will play that League Cup game.
Yeah, I agree with it. I mean, I hope Tom Heaton gets the nod in between the sticks, and we'll see how that one plays out. I mean, I expect us to win that game anyway, but if we don't, there's going to be massive question marks. But at least that removes some of the upcoming fixtures which we would be facing for this season, giving us an opportunity just to concentrate on each Premier League game until the FA Cup arrives in January, which was the case for when we went at the League Cup 11 years ago in the second round at the expense of MK Dons. And I'm not saying we should go out to Grimsby. I think that'd be really embarrassing. But we just got to turn up and put in a convincing performance. And I think what we take from that League Cup game is not going to be a reflection saying, oh yeah, United are back. Even if we scored 6 or 7 goals against them, it's not going to be a true reflection of where this Manchester United team is at. But we'll see.
We got to take the positives. We're still in 15th somehow. That bogey number is still sitting beside us in the league table there. So if we get a victory in the League Cup, we'll have to take it. We'll take a quick break there, Tom. We'll be back with a bit more after this short break.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Tom, I have Monday Night Football on in the background here. David Moyes, the former United manager, is being interviewed after a pretty lackluster performance from Everton. Post-match interviews we're used to. We're used to seeing our managers and our players participating in that. Half-time interviews has been a big talking point today on social media on Sunday evening and today. Odegaard being interviewed down the tunnel at Old Trafford. Very American style kind of punditry and TV. Are you a fan?
If it was with managers, I'd have understood it more. With players, not really. Because the issue I find is what kind of things you would expect a player to say after they've just played 45 minutes of football. You know, if they've been on the wrong end of a challenge, for instance, and they're very angry and they take it out on the interview team on the back of that a few minutes after.
That's probably what they want, actually.
Yeah, this is what I mean. For the neutral's sake, that's maybe what they want. But I think to begin with, it might look all right, but until certain incidents occur that subsequently results in interviews being over dramatic, not needed, I just think it's going to end up causing more issues, and I think some of the clubs will end up complaining too much about having to do half-time interviews. It was just, do the audience really care? Was it really something that they had asked for to begin with? Or is it just something to tailor the American market and saying, oh, right, we need to try and do it the way the Americans do it? Like, no, we don't. This is the Premier League. This is England.
Yeah, very, very strong take there. I didn't expect anything less, to be honest. I think I'm in the same boat. Like, I appreciate and I understand them trying to do something different and trying to spice it up a bit. But I just can't really see it taking off, especially, players are very cautious in their post-match interviews and boring after their post-match interviews. And maybe they're thinking, like you mentioned, when the adrenaline is up, they might say something slightly off the cuff. Now, I can imagine they started off by just picking the captain during Super Sunday. I don't know if they're going to let the person know before the game who they're actually going to pull in, or if it's only going to be captains so that they'll give a very kind of cultured response. But you're hoping in sometime in game week 21, someone just goes off the cuff with one of these and we get a brilliant clip that goes viral. But yeah, I'm not too convinced by it, because everyone that's watching on TV, oh great, halftime, let's nip and get a cup of tea, or let me go out to the shops for a second till I get back in to see Roy Keane on TV or something like that. They don't care about I need to wait until I hear from Odegaard 5 minutes after the game, or 35 seconds after the game, before I can actually go and do my thing for 15 minutes. So yeah, I'm not convinced. I think, to be honest, the majority of social media seems to be on that side as well. But yeah, I can't really see it taking off, Tom.
Do you remember, I think during the ITV days of maybe the Champions League or the FA Cup,
mm-hmm.
we're going back many years ago, Niall, where the managers used to speak during half-time, because they did used to do that. I remember Sir Alex giving a few words before the second half had begun.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind that. If it was managers, I wouldn't mind it, because they're probably the most disciplined individuals involved in the match compared to players.
Mm-hmm.
Because, they're more mature than, the odd 21, 22-year-old who is probably one of those social media attention seekers who's just there for all the gimmicks, the flicks and things like that on a football pitch. Whereas a manager has been in the game for long enough to know what's right and wrong to say to the media.
So you're looking for, disciplined answers. You're looking for a bit of analysis rather than something off the cuff, I suppose, from a player in the heat of the moment.
Well, yeah, this is the thing. Like, the FA are very, very strong on what gets said to the media, either about them, about referees, certain players from other teams. That's why we have sporting codes in regards to what you can and cannot say within the media. It's like, you can't just say something about the referee, even if it, because there is a rule when it comes to press conferences. in pre-match press conferences, you're not allowed to say anything about the referee. Even if it's something nice, you can't say it. In post-match interviews, you can say what you like, providing it's not libelous or anything like that.
Okay.
In halftime interviews, I don't know exactly how it works if you're talking about the referee and anything like that. I think the manager should be given the benefit of the doubt, because if, let's say, there's been a red card in the match and it looks controversial, I think the manager is allowed to say as he or she so pleases. That would be my take on it, because it's a raw reaction. Before the match, obviously you can't say it because it can influence how the referee behaves and it can have an impact on the result. So, halftime interviews, players, I think it just looks a bit niche. With managers or a member of the backroom staff, it just sounds more suitable for that particular concept. And they've only got a limited amount of time anyway.
Yeah. Be interesting to see, how they come up with a rule book for that, because you mentioned, what you can and can't say before and after the match, but that horrible middle ground of halftime. I mean, what are you allowed to say? What aren't you allowed to say? So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. And I think, like you mentioned, the players will need to be very careful about this. I can imagine the people that are organising this are going to be very careful about the players they select to come on and speak about this. You can imagine if you were to pick someone out of the 22 players that started that game against United and Arsenal, Odegaard would definitely be up there as someone you'd bring in to be the poster boy for this halftime interview and have a nice kind of calm answers and be very kind of gracious with the interviewer. So from a fan's perspective, you're looking for someone a bit more off the cuff. But let's see how it progresses. But anyway, Tom, thank you very much for joining me on this a bit of a mix, I suppose, of additional things from the review of the Arsenal game, and also some social media topics around this halftime interview. So thank you very much for joining me. And we've plenty more episodes coming up this week. We have the Premier League game at the weekend. We're going to have a few Wildcard Wednesdays, a few previews as well this week. So plenty to tune in on the podcast. And you can find us on the Daily Manchester United, GSPN Man United on social media. And you can tune into our raw reaction from the Arsenal game yesterday. Myself and Tom were on. We were joined by Kieran. So plenty of content coming out with the podcast over the next few weeks. And thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.